So friends, with Donald Trump's Department of Justice going after politicians who, of course, are Democrats, going after them one after another, when do we acknowledge that Trump and Attorney General Pam Bondi are essentially trying to turn the Department of Justice into campaign headquarters for the Republican Party? Let's talk about that, because justice matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So friends, let's file this under shocking but not surprising. The Department of Justice is becoming little more than a weapon in Donald Trump's hand. By way of background, historically, when it comes to criminal investigations and prosecutions of politicians and other high-profile folk like judges, there has always been an important check, a safeguard, against prosecutors charging people for political reasons, for political advantage. That safeguard? The public integrity section. The public integrity section, often referred to as the PIN, was created in 1976 in the wake of the Watergate scandal to make sure that career public servants, lawyers at the Department of Justice made the weighty decisions regarding whether, for example, members of Congress should be criminally charged, rather than having those decisions made by politically appointed U.S. attorneys, folks like Ed Stop the Steal Martin or Alina Habba. Put a pin in that. So when Trump and Bondi took control of the Department of Justice, what did we see regarding the public integrity section? Well, there's this: Justice Department office that prosecutes public corruption slashed in size, sources say. Only a small fraction of the public integrity section's employees, roughly a half dozen, will remain in an office that had dozens of employees and oversaw cases nationwide. And that article begins, the Trump administration is gutting the Justice Department's unit that oversees prosecutions of public officials accused of corruption. Three sources who spoke on condition of anonymity told NBC News. David Loffman, a former head of the DOJ's counterintelligence section, who served in both Republican and Democratic administrations, questioned the move. Quote, "The only reasonable interpretation of this extraordinary action is that the administration wants to transfer responsibility for public corruption cases from career attorneys at Main Justice to political appointees heading U.S. attorneys' offices," Loffman said. The decision, he added, raises serious questions about whether future investigations and prosecutions will be motivated by improper partisan considerations. And so, friends, what are we now seeing in some recent reporting like this from Rolling Stone? Trump DOJ considers making it easier to indict members of Congress. The plan would end the requirement that the Justice Department's Public Integrity section approve prosecutions of lawmakers and other public officials. So, friends, a quick question. How many of you think that Trump and Bondi's DOJ will be aggressively going after members of Congress who are Republicans? Question kind of answers itself, doesn't it? So what are we seeing now? We're seeing Alina Habba, who previously was one of Donald Trump's personal lawyers and who Donald Trump appointed to be the top prosecutor in New Jersey, the United States Attorney for New Jersey, just charged a member of Congress, Congresswoman McIver, with assaulting, resisting, or impeding certain officers or employees. For those of you scoring at home, it's at 18 United States Code Section 111A1. And I hope you're sitting down. Congresswoman McIver is a Democrat. Here's the new reporting. DOJ, U.S. Attorney Alina Habba, charges New Jersey Congresswoman with assaulting law enforcement at ICE facility. And that article begins, the Justice Department has filed charges against a Democratic member of Congress alleging that she assaulted law enforcement officers during a protest outside an immigration detention facility in New Jersey earlier this month. Representative LaMonica McIver, Democrat from New Jersey, faces 2 counts of assaulting, resisting, and impeding law enforcement officials in connection with an incident at an Immigration and Customs Enforcement facility in Newark, according to court documents made public on Tuesday. Interim U.S. Attorney for New Jersey, Alina Habba, who served as Trump's personal attorney and previously worked as counselor to the president, announced the charges against McIver on X on Monday night before they were made public. On Tuesday, McIver told NBC News that she had learned of the charges on social media after Habba posted about them. This from the Congresswoman, quote, "It's political intimidation, and I'm looking forward to my day in court," she said Tuesday. McIver had called the charges purely political in a statement on Monday night and said she looked forward to the truth being laid out clearly in court. Quote, "Earlier this month, I joined my colleagues to inspect the treatment of ICE detainees at Delaney Hall in my district. We were fulfilling our lawful oversight responsibilities, as members of Congress have done many times before, and our visit should have been peaceful and short. Instead, ICE agents created an unnecessary and unsafe confrontation when they chose to arrest Mayor Baraka," she said. That's right, friends. They also arrested the mayor of Newark, New Jersey, Mayor Baraka, who also happens to be a Democrat. Now, friends, I invite you to watch a video of this incident, this alleged assault. You can easily find it online. And here's what prosecutors ordinarily would do if there was an incident that might involve criminal conduct by a sitting member of Congress. They would investigate. They would not just look at the videotape, they would interview everybody who was present to find out what happened before the videotape started rolling, what happened while the videotape was rolling, because you only get a certain perspective, what happened after the video stopped rolling, what did the people say, what were they saying during the incident, what did they say after the incident about what happened. Not just Congresswoman McIver, but what did the federal officers say? What did the eyewitnesses say? What did the mayor say before he was locked up and hauled away? That's the way you conduct an investigation. And you know how and where you conduct that investigation? In the grand jury. Because the grand jury are members of the community in which the alleged crime was committed, and they get to serve as a firewall. Those citizens get to serve as a guardrail, as a check against potential prosecutorial overreach by the Alina Habbas of the world. They get to decide, 1, whether there's enough evidence to indict, and 2, if indicting is the right thing to do. Is this a righteous prosecution that's being brought against a sitting member of Congress? But Alina Habba apparently did none of that. Instead, she just signed a complaint or had one of her underlings sign a complaint, and bam, you're charged with a crime, Congresswoman McIver. To hell with a fair, thorough, honest, independent, impartial investigation conducted before the grand jury to let the members of the community decide whether a crime was committed and whether the right thing to do is to indict, to bring a charge. No, she just rushed right to charging a sitting member of Congress. Now, let me tell you, as a former career prosecutor, I can't say whether there is going to be proof beyond a reasonable doubt that a crime was committed because I don't have enough evidence. All I saw was some pushing and shoving on a video. And that maybe represents, a small fraction of the entire evidence that should have been developed and scrutinized and presented to the grand jury. And an indictment should have been sought if the prosecutors believed there was enough evidence to indict and it was the right thing to do. So, this seems to be a bad decision coming home to roost, right? Where Trump and Bondi are just getting rid of the public integrity section, which ordinarily would have been able to scrutinize this case before the Alina Habbas of the world were ever in a position to bring a charge without a grand jury investigation. And friends, when it comes to going after politicians who are Democrats, it looks like Trump and Bondi are just getting warmed up. How about this headline? FBI opens formal investigation of New York Attorney General Leticia James. Or how about this headline? Justice Department opens inquiry into Andrew Cuomo, singling out another political target. Let's dig into the Cuomo story just a little bit. The Justice Department has opened a criminal investigation of Andrew Cuomo, a front-runner in the New York City mayoral race, after Republicans accused him of lying to Congress about decisions he made during the coronavirus pandemic as governor, according to two people familiar with the matter. The inquiry, begun about a month ago by the U.S. Attorney's Office in Washington, comes after senior Justice Department officials in February demanded the dismissal of an indictment of the city's current mayor, Eric Adams, on corruption charges. That puts the Trump administration in the unusual position of having ended a criminal case against the leader of the nation's largest city and opened one into his chief rival in the span of a few months. Mr. Adams is running for re-election as an independent, and Mr. Cuomo is leading the Democratic primary field in the polls. So, friends, can I just take a quick minute to bring that into full focus? Donald Trump's Department of Justice dismissed a criminal prosecution against New York City Mayor Eric Adams, not because Adams didn't commit all kinds of public corruption crimes. The evidence supported the prosecution. No, they dismissed the case because they wanted Adams to be in a position to do political favors for Donald Trump, to assist Donald Trump in his political priorities. And then once the case is dismissed and Andrew Cuomo throws his hat in the ring, in the mayor's race, and he'll be up against Eric Adams. And according to the reporting, Cuomo is the Democratic leader in the race. What does the Department of Justice do? They open a criminal investigation on Andrew Cuomo. Donald Trump and Pam Bondi have pretty much destroyed the legitimacy of the Department of Justice. And the only consolation, friends, is that I don't believe for a minute the federal judges will let them get away with bringing politically motivated, vindictive prosecutions. Because in my experience as a career prosecutor, to the judges and to us, justice matters. Friends, as always, please stay safe. Please stay tuned. And I look forward to talking with you all again tomorrow.